Obviously, you've got a couple budgets there to look
And
into.
I want all the money.
Walt said to go ahead and get started, so. The first one in your packet is the court budget.
Obviously, we know what the first increase is.
Yeah.
Your crank chair.
Well, and I will just chime in on that I am trying to get all of the costs of that one particular proceeding deferred to the state. I'm in the process of preparing, well, the paperwork is prepared and to be sent off through the treasurer's office, getting a refund. So I'm in the process of pay for that one particular unit, for that to be reimbursed. And then we can also claim expenditures that we've spent, anything that we've spent. And that's pretty,
You spent an enormous amount of overtime as well. I mean, I know some of your staff has worked weekends and they've worked evenings to
and
do
we
their
still do.
jobs.
That's
To do their jobs because they're tied up doing.
well, and that's normal anyway without
Is
this
that-
being added. So that's not necessarily, because,
Right.
you know, court doesn't end at 5 just
Right.
because office hours are 9 to 5. We don't end at 5. We don't start at 9. We don't end at 5 a lot of times. So that, keep that in mind. Sometimes I try to limit that as much as possible, but unfortunately, it just is what it is. Court is what it is.
Yeah.
But yes, so just so that you know, I'm looking, right now, I think we're up at close to about 13,000 I'm trying to get back, and that's without expenses. And I need to wait until I can get an itemized list of what we've spent, because that was prior to my being in office, and I think things are a little scattered on that, trying to get that together so that I can recoup some of those expenses as well. So just so you know, we are trying to get some of that back, so. And then what else? Postage, I think that's self-explanatory. Telephone, I think that's self-explanatory. Now, there again, some of those have increased due to
What's going on?
what's going on.
Right.
Some of those expenses have just, as a result. Of course, the commissioners, they only come in once a year. As you can see, that's very minimal. Board of Jurors, there again, minimal. This budget's really not the bad one, it's the next one. But pretty much everything there is basically just standard, everyday operating expenses. And as you can see, we've provided a description of what each department does, what we do. And as you can tell, for the clerk of court, responsibilities are pretty huge. And that's basically just a synopsis of what we do. So I think when you see the budget, you will understand why. And I haven't this year, but I plan next year to try to incorporate funding to enroll my deputies in the master clerk program. I think we need to have that. The treasurer's office has it, the commissioner of revenue's office has it. I think it only benefits the citizens that we get our people the training that they need to be successful and efficient. And I think that would help a whole lot, but it's expensive. And I think that's why it hasn't been done thus far. So, but that is something that I'm very interested in doing. But compensation, this is just basically all standard for all of our help. Like I said, I'm trying to keep costs down. I think we have a new judge, and I think things are I want to say, we are a little more efficient. We've gone fileless. That's helped save on some time. Working on that, working on implementing some other changes that will make us even more efficient, e-filing, e-recording, etc. That hopefully will make us more efficient and not so labor intensive. But all of that's pretty standard. There again, your postage, your telephone, office supplies. I'm also working on a way to defer pretty much all the toner. The state will pay for our toner. So I have figured out a way to defer all of that to the state, which is a pretty hefty part of our budget. So that's gonna help with that.
Is that under service contract?
That's under office supplies,
Office
actually.
supplies, okay. Service contracts, is that?
Service
for-
contracts
Copier?
is copiers, it's our court reporting equipment.
Okay,
We have a service contract for that. We have service contracts for, well, SRA, the secured remote access is a service contract. But people pay to use that, so we get that reimbursed by the state. That's something that kind of is just a run-through thing.
That's the access to your land records.
That's the access to the land records, the public access. We have quite a few subscribers, but that pays for itself. So that's something that that has to be included because we need it to run through, to pay the bill, to pay our vendor. So but that's something that just is a pass-through basically that runs through. Books and subscriptions, we get an unreal amount of law books. And a lot of them seem redundant, but for code, we have to have them. So until they figure out a way to digitize all that and get everybody on board with using that, that's where we are with that. Travel and training, we're asking for very minimal. I would like to have a lot more in that budget, and that's probably coming next year, depending on what I've got 3 deputy clerks that are wanting to do the program, or eligible to do the program. I have no problem funding my own for me, personally, to be a master clerk. I've got no problem with funding mine because you have to pay for the class. All travel expenses are on you. So, for me, I'll eat that, but the deputies, that's unreal to expect them when they make what they make to fund all that as well. And it's for the benefit of the citizens. So, grants, we do have, I may have underfunded that. We do have a grant currently pending. They've just picked up 4 more books from our land record room for preservation purposes. But the Library of Virginia does a grant each year. So we apply for these grants and they are to preserve our land records, which is very, very, very important. Like I said, they just took 4 books out, but we have a grant for that to the tune of $13,950, I believe.
And you're saying that there's actually more out there that you could get?
Well, we're limited in what we can get because when these grants were first discovered, only a few clerks knew about it. Now that word has gotten out and we're all wanting our shares, so we're not getting as much. We have to divvy. And they actually pay a visit to us. The Library of Virginia will send someone to us. They go through our land records and they basically find what needs to be, what's in the worst shape, and work back from that. We have a lot they're used a lot. Those land books are used a lot. People are in them, out of them. We've taped them, and of course that's very detrimental to the preservation process because the acid's in the paper, the acid's in the tape, and once these are your permanent records. If they're gone, they're gone. You can't get them back. So we are in the process of, it's a lengthy process. There's a lot back there, and it's very, very, very expensive. 4 books being preserved is going to cost $13,950. We just actually, I didn't know, without a grant, we just had a bunch of marriage license through a period of the 1919 to the 1940s, I think, preserved, and that was $10,000 for 5 books to get those. That process is very expensive.
I've been to the Library of Virginia doing genealogy research, and it is incredible.
Oh, it's amazing.
Incredible.
And of course, we send everything to them electronically.
Right.
They have a backup of everything that we do. But the actual books themselves.
They create books so that you can go through page by page, right?
Well, we actually,
Do you do that?
we don't create books anymore. That's done.
Okay.
We digitize now.
Okay.
And when we do send these things off to be preserved, they provide us a digital copy so that it can be put out for easier access. And that actually, I'm working on that as well. We had a bunch of books back scanned years ago, 2010. And they've never been put out to the public because they have social security numbers in them. So we have been redacting those socials so that our subscribers can have access to those records as well, which is huge. That's going to be huge. But every time that we send something away, they digitize them, and then we can, with the help of OES in Richmond, they walk us through the process of putting those digitize records out to the public, which they love. People love that. And like I said, they pay for that service, so they should get as much as they can for the service. Miscellaneous, that's just kind of a catch-all. We've used that some for this process as well. We've had to dip into that. Machinery and equipment. A lot of our stuff comes from the Supreme Court. I was able to swap out a couple of PCs because we were still under warranty this year, so that worked. Furniture. I would like to make a new workstation. I'm creating, in the back where the land record room is, we have 3 window slots. And the one window we use for attorney mailboxes, etc. I'm removing that and making that a recording window. And I believe that's going to also help the flow of the office because everybody's jammed up when you first go into the office. So this will send anybody wanting to do a recording to the back, to the record room, so that the flow is better. I hate when somebody stands in line. We think that they're trying to record something. They have a stack of papers in their hand and they're just trying to pay for copies. So hopefully this will funnel people where they need to be and it won't be so jammed up in the front when you first go in. I think that's going to improve efficiency as well. So I'm in that process, trying to get all that worked out. We're on the list, I've been told, for that to happen. I don't know where we are on the list, but we're on the list. Let's see, computer equipment, that's self-explanatory. Rental, copiers, we just did enter into a new service contract with a different provider. We used Xerox previously, now we're using Konica. The Xerox machines just didn't seem to...
Did you actually go out for bid on that?
I believe so. That was already done prior to my
Or even state contract.
coming into office. They were going through Xerox, and like I said, they're now through Konica. Konica offered, actually they gave us the same rate as what we were paying with Xerox, and actually seems to be a little better product. The Xerox machine is broken. It's broken down all the time. Just was not a good piece of equipment. So, but yeah, all of that is included. The BIS, which is our court reporting software. We do a court reporter. We have a court reporter, but the court reporting software, at the end of the day, it is our responsibility to make sure that the record is kept. So that kind of gives us some insurance and that we have everything as it should be.
I'm sorry, you've been budgeting for your medical, your medical insurance, so we've been budgeting, as we don't know, like 10%. I think you got like 1.68 or something like that, but not that. So that's something may impact your budget. We hope it's not gonna be 10%.
Oh, the increase. We just kind of guesstimated what our increases were.
Right.
I was just trying to formulate over the years. I just took an average of what the last 3 years were and tried to guess what that would be.
So I hope it is what you guessed.
I do
You
too.
did very well.
I do too. We're hoping. So we were trying to just get in there and try to get just a good feel for what it would be. As you can see on the justification, pretty much these are all just projected costs. Increased demand on office supplies, but I'm also, like I said, trying to get, hopefully we're going to have a tremendous savings because toner's expensive. We spend a lot of money on toner. A lot of money on toner, so that's going to save us quite a chunk of change, I'm hoping. And I'm also looking through, I've placed one order through EVA. It's the state contract site. And I know the district courts, all of their supplies are pretty much funded through that. I called and spoke with a representative. I set up an account. I explained that I was with the circuit court, not the district court, and I was still told I could order supplies up to $100 a day. Minimum order of $25, up to $100 a day.
Yeah. You can't register on your own for that. I know
I did.
we're finance is registered here. My very we have different folks who are registered, but that sounds weird.
I placed one small order. We needed binder clips. So I did something that wasn't going to cost us like a small fortune if they didn't pay for it. But to try it out, I've received no bill. I've received no invoice. I've received nothing but the product. So
Is that the way it's supposed to work?
No.
Hey, I'm pretty happy with that right
Maybe it's a
now.
freebie for the first time.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I just, like I said, that I'm tentatively testing those waters.
Whose budget's gonna show up on it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
really.
So, you know, I've been told that I could do this, so I'm testing it out, and hopefully that'll save us even more money, because if I can get $100 a day through them.
Yeah, that's
And now that you can't get everything, but you can get most generic, you know, like pens and pads and binder clips, and I mean, there's quite a significant list of things that you can get.
My husband had to use Eva, he was DMV employee, so.
Well, and I found it actually, I was going through our intranet website and just happened to check out the services contract, which is lengthy and very convoluted, but in all of that, I was able to decipher. I just found a contact and reached out, and here we are. So as you can see, our personnel expenses, of course, they have gone up because of this proceeding. We have one person that is pretty much their sole purpose is
To support the grand jury.
So, that's pretty much the reason that they're there. And of course, and then it takes also pretty much one of my full-time deputies, that's their function as well. They spend most of their day catering to the whims of what's going on, so it's been interesting. That's been interesting. And of course, we have the future, the capital outlay. We are in desperate need of a new phone system at the courthouse. We can't add any more extensions. We're tapped out, our lines are tapped. And it's, the way that system works, pretty much the circuit court clerk's office is the trunk line. So if another office is not answering their phone, it comes
goes
to
back
us.
to you guys.
And then, of course, we're getting the very angry person who has been trying to reach said office for however long and can't get through. And then,
We've got, like I said, we've got money both here, the government center, and the courthouse. Some of it depends on if we go voice over IP, that it may be a lease rather than a purchase, but just look at those options. But we do have money to be able to hopefully cover both buildings.
when I just pretty much copied what had been previously asked for and contacted the same vendor that was contacted previously, just to kind of get a guesstimate of what it would cost. Because really, at the end of the day, it shouldn't be circuit court's issue.
Cheaper than that, shouldn't it?
Well, most of it, because it's basically operates in the cloud, unless you want to hire the person to manage it, most of them are leasing the systems to you, and they manage the system for
Right.
you. Now, like here a couple months ago, we had no internet for 2 days. Those are situations, at least we had the telephone. You go voice over IP, maybe you don't have a telephone system as well. So there's pros and cons. It's worked well at the jail. We have it out the
Right.
system at the jail, and it's worked okay. But those are things that the school system went voice over IP. So yeah, you may save on your actual phone bills versus the cost may be more expensive on the capital investment, but long term you may save a little bit.
Right.
So I think that's why we're looking at both options, but definitely you want redundancy issue.
Well, and
You guys maybe could go down with no phones for a couple of days, but there's some other departments that.
that would be a blessing. Are you kidding? We would like that. we can't get that lucky. We've had one line that hasn't been working, and that's kind of been a big. We've had the phone company out there multiple times, and they can't find what's going on. Some days it works, some days it doesn't. It just is what it is. But speaking from the trunk line office, it'd be really nice if we could get a more updated system so that we're not constantly, or if somebody puts somebody on hold for too long, it comes back to us and they're really upset. We don't even know why they're upset because we don't know that they've been holding for 15 minutes and the other person won't pick up the phone. So that would be really nice. Let's bring us into the 21st century. It would be really great. That would be nice. Law library, there again, that's pretty much per code. We have to have it. We have to fund it. We have to supply it. We have to keep up with it. And I really wish that would go. a more digital way because we are running out of room to put all these volumes, and we can't get rid of certain volumes because they're historical in nature. And it just kind of, there's not so many places we can put these things. You know, we're trying, and per code we have to have it, we have to supply it, but not, it doesn't get used a whole lot.
It doesn't what?
It doesn't get used a whole lot.
Overall, libraries are typically, you can get them online too, so. you can
Well, and
find what you
Samuel's
need.
also has to have, your public library has a copy of all of these things as well. But per code, we have to have it, so it's one of those,
Has to be on site,
It
so if
has
somebody
to.
needs it.
there's no workaround.
Yep.
You know, and we are supplied one set of code books, the clerk's offices, but the judges are not. So, because we also we have to have a copy of the code current as well, accessible, so. And they're expensive, I mean, you're hundreds of dollars per book. You know, they're very, 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 very costly. But it is what it is. So,
So your budget's right.
I think that's enough.
Yeah, that's right. So, general district and general district, J&D and general district in there, they're basically at zero, no increase. Of course, those are more state office stuff, and we pick up some of the office cost. We
Right.
don't have the actual staff cost, personnel cost, benefits cost that go along with that.
And as you can see on our workload measures, fictitious names, we're getting pretty much, that's gone by the wayside because the State Corporation Commission has taken those over. We'll still have the task of expiring fictitious names, but we're no longer filing them. Criminal, of course, these are all projections. Our deeds have increased a little bit. I can tell you it's an election year, and the way things are going in Richmond, our concealed handgun permits are probably we've seen a huge increase in those in just the past couple of months. So the projected number there is probably a little low.
On what's that?
The concealed weapons, the concealed handgun on our workload measures. We issue a lot of those. We just did a whole big stack of them, and I did that on Saturday, and I've got another stack, probably about that much today. So, thanks.
Yeah.
And they're just, and there again, that's just kind of a time-consuming thing. It just is what it is. But, so that's it. There we are. That's pretty much it. Anybody have any questions?
Sound like your equipment's kind of in line.
Trying to be.
Are your people in line? I mean, do you need anything? I mean, I know that your budget is your budget, but.
No, the biggest thing that for my people, the staff that I have seems to be doing a real good job of trying to get us caught up. We were behind a little bit in the beginning when I first started. They were behind a little bit in some areas, but they've worked really hard and gotten that up to speed. The biggest thing that I'm going to want in the future, like I said, is just training for them. They want to do it, and I think it's very important. You know, that's half the battle when you have people that want to do a good job for you, and they do. So that's a big deal. I think that, you know, it only benefits everybody. It benefits the county, it benefits the citizens, you know, it benefits the office. I mean, who doesn't want a well-trained staff? You know, that's ideal. You know, you want the best product out there.
You want them happy, so they stay.
You want them happy? Well, because there has been, you know, statewide, there's been a 25% turnover rate in the circuit court clerk's office, and I believe that a lot of that has to do with salary.
Right.
Because quite frankly, they can go down the hall to district court and start off $3,000 higher, even with the supplement, which is very generous. I mean, thank you for that. But even with the supplement that the county gives us, they can still go down the hall and make $3,000 more starting. You know, and their insurance policies are less. So I mean, it's hard to keep people when.
Well, if you're giving them a career track though.
But that's what I'm trying to
Always,
do.
that's always a
We're
good.
trying to balance
Yeah,
that.
that's
You know, I'm
always a
trying
good
to-
set off, so, yeah.
You know, trying to say, well, I'm going to try to get this for you. And I didn't ask for it this year because we have all of the other stuff that we're asking for going on. But then, that being said, I've also, since I've done this, I've been researching avenues to defer those costs so that they're not hitting us so hard.
Hopefully we'll be able to work through that over the next year.
Oh, I think so. I think so. I think, and like I said, that was huge. You know, I did some research and contacted some people, and what can we do? What can I do? You know, I think I can do this. Can I? Tell me how I can go about this. How can I get rid of this? How can I dump this money onto somebody else? You know, just some avenues and trying just the supplies that I can cut. You know, that's a big chunk too. You know, so while I'm taking it off of there, I want to fund it in another place. But like I said, that's beneficial to everybody, and it looks, you know, it looks good. Like I said, as you said, people feel valued when you
Invest
show
in them.
promise.
Yeah,
Exactly.
when you invest in them, yeah.
When you invest, because you know it is what it is. You want the best that you have working for you, and that, like I said, that puts a good product out there for everybody. You know, we do a lot with the public. Probate's huge. That's another area I need to get more people trained in. You know, we touch a lot of people, so I think it's important that we treat them good.
Well, we thank you. We thank you a lot. We appreciate you coming in.
Well, thank you all. I hope I answered all your questions, and I appreciate your time. You guys have a good day. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I know it.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Bell, how are you, sir?
Oh, I just got the news that the General Assembly has, the House of Delegates has passed their House Bill 961, which means if the Senate passes it, I've got about 3 felonies and 6 misdemeanors sitting in my basement at home in the gun cabinet.
I don't think the Senate,
I'm hoping not.
I don't think the Senate will pass that.
Well, Todd Gilbert has already said he'll show up for my press conference if it does.
Yeah. I'm hoping the Senate has better sense. Yeah, anyway.
All right, but current events aside,
Yeah.
all right. As you can see, the bulk of our budget is personnel, and that has always been true. As far as the changes from the previous year's budget, I'm looking for 2 additions. Number one is I'm looking to reclassify our open attorney position under the county pay scale. I am trying to recruit a more experienced person to fill the deputy Commonwealth attorney slot. And the people I'm looking at are all making substantially more money at other Commonwealth attorney's office than we'll be able to offer. At least one of them is willing to take a pay cut to come here, on that. But the request for that is, let's see.
Excuse me.
It's listed as new hire for senior slot.
That's right.
If you move it up to 20P on the county pay scale, that comes in at the 92,724. And frankly, I think this is important because, to put it bluntly, I think we've all seen what happens when we have a shallow bench at the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. I want to get somebody in there who is capable of stepping in and running the office from day one. Hopefully the person I have in mind for this is a Warren County resident, so they would actually be able to step in if anything happened to me. I keep telling my wife if I walk down to the barn one day and have a heart attack or the llama finally gets tired of me and kicks me to death, I want to make sure that the office is taken care of. Yeah. There's also, I'm requesting an increase for one of our personnel, Anna Hammond. She's been working there for a number of years and she has gone above and beyond last year. One of the other attorneys, Mike Fleming, was out for months after having a triple bypass. She covered a good deal of his work. when Brian Layton became Commonwealth's attorney, most of his time was spent with special grand jury issues, and she covered a good part of his work as well. So she has gone, above and beyond. Now, I've made a request in for the comp board to try and recompense some of the other, money, that I'm asking for. Her position is underfunded by the comp board's own standards, on it. We have two positions that are comp board positions that are underfunded. One is hers, and the other one is Dana Haran's. Hers is a comp board position, but is not funded at all. Now, some of the word we've been getting is that there may be some money to start bringing those back up to full funding. If that's the case, then the additional state funding would compensate and then some for the additional salary request I'm making. However, I can't guarantee that. That's like saying, the check is in the mail. Yeah, but at the same time, we have in our comp board requested that they restore funding for those. A number of years back, when the state has had various budget crunches, they either cut some of the reimbursements, or they just, put positions without reimbursements, on it as well. So,
I'm sorry, if you're still talking about staff. I know last year, there was a last minute thing that the General Assembly said that we had to have one attorney, Commonwealth's attorney, just to review all the film from the police officer,
the body cam,
which you got.
yes.
But then have you heard anything down there that they're gonna, because they didn't give us any reimbursement. Have you heard anything on that bill?
Some of the folks in Commonwealth Attorney Service Council have indicated that there may be some effort to put in some funding to assist with that. The unfunded mandate has been very unpopular across the state. Yeah. And there are other jurisdictions that have been hit far worse than Warren County.
It's like one for every 75 body cams or something like that?
Yes, yeah. You can negotiate that formula, under the statute, but that's basically it. Now, as it happens, that position is now open in our office. The attorney who had that accepted a job over in Fairfax County. She lives across the mountain and has a young child, so that was kind of a no-brainer. And I will tell you, since that's totally county money, I'm more than willing to leave that position open for a little while, to save some money for the county. If I can get the deputy position filled, I can leave the body cam open for at least a little while, to try and get that done. Now, in terms of office logistics, equipment, and so forth, our office space, is inadequate for what we're doing. I have.
Let's see the budget times up.
There's no quick fix for that, and I'm sure our clerk of the court, who was in here earlier, expressed some of the same issues with courthouse space. So we need new space. And that brings up another topic, here. It's not included as, directly in the budget because we're still a work in progress. I discovered when I came on board that the previous administration had purchased a case management system. I've got a $4,300 and change invoice for the coming year sitting on my desk. I don't know that the county was ever informed and had that added into our budget.
Brian, at least he came and talked to us. I forgot it. He talked about acquiring it. He talked about money in his budget, but as far as he did the sign off and everything else, but we were aware of it, at least as part of the discussion.
Okay. Now, after working with the system and working with my staff for the last month or so, it's not working for us. Now we've looked at some other systems, and I've got some bids from another vendor, but that's going to be substantially more expensive. the purchase of the system itself is about $39,000. And the annual maintenance, will run about $7,000. Now that sounds insane, but at the same time, it will give us some abilities which we just do not have now and desperately need. Our courts are going more and more to electronic document management. Our office is currently not doing that. We actually get emailed court orders, which we then print and put in paper files. The system we're looking at will give us the ability both to store the majority of our paperwork digitally and securely, and that will help help us function in the very small space we've got. It also is going to enable us to get ahead of the new discovery rules on this. Because right now, there are new discovery rules coming in July of this year mandating increased discovery to defense counsel out there, and the procedures are going to be more complicated. They're going to involve more redaction of witness names and so forth. And this system will allow us the ability to take a scanned document, redact it, attach it to an email, one click, send it to defense counsel, and make a digital track that's been out there and done. Now, currently the way discovery is done is defense attorneys say we would like discovery. The court enters the order. They make an appointment to come down to the office. They come down to the office. The paper file gets pulled. They review the paper file. They go knock on the door. The secretary opens the door. They come back to our office. They go to the copier. They make copies out of the file. And then we put the file back together and we send them on their merry way. And that gets done for every major felony and misdemeanor charge. It's not working. Let me check.
What was the original purchase price, John, on that software? 37, is that what you said?
Yeah.
If we pretty much kept the one county-only vacancy open for the rest of the fiscal
They could have
year,
done it themselves.
we'd have enough money to basically pay for the software.
And I will tell you, we've also got another chunk of change I can tap in if I can get the comp board to redesignate it. Right now, we've got about 40-some thousand in vacancy savings. Now, the comp board will not pay for equipment, but if you have vacancy savings, it can be redesignated and then laundered to the county. Now, what will happen on that is they will apply a stress factor. So if I say, I need $4,000 worth of computer equipment, they'll say, great, we've got your vacancy savings, we'll let you redesignate that, and by the way, we think your county is not holding up their end, so we're going to give you $3,500, and they have to pony up $500. So what we're looking for is to get that deputy position filled with an experienced, veteran, capable trial attorney who can take over management of the office in a pinch. We're looking to reward one of our senior attorneys who has been doing wonderful work without appropriate compensation for it. We're looking at revamping our workflow and document management system to get it into this century and to also enable us to function in the office space we've got now. Now, all of this is going to cost money. We do have the advantage that we do have a certain amount of money because of the vacancy savings. Brian Layton's position has been open since September 1 when he stepped into the Commonwealth Attorney's position and will stay open until we hire the new deputy. The new attorney, not the body camera attorney, we were given another comp board funded position. And it took a couple of months to fill that, so there's a small vacancy saving for that. That's available. And in order to make the system work, I'm willing to leave the body cam vacant for at least a certain period of time in order to accumulate some more savings on the county end.
I think we can get it done, John. I think we can find it.
Questions for John?
What's obvious after being in your office and the loads of paper that are sitting around that you need a paperless system. Or is,
Close
get it
to,
down to as close. I don't know how you guys can find what you need when you need it.
There's no room for expansion, is there?
there really isn't.
I mean, the one lawyer's
He's going
sitting
up
with
now.
at the door that
Going
goes
up.
to the street,
I'm
so.
sure the circuit court would love to have space.
I've actually talked with Madam Clerk about that, and she would love to have our space, yeah. Yeah. But, any other questions?
What is the top part of the old jail used for? That used to be like administrative office
Just
or
the
something?
old cells and stuff, yeah.
The old cells.
No,
What
no,
is it?
not the cell part, but the other towards the
The open
front.
part, or right to the front, up
Yeah.
above where the offices were.
Those were old, and at one point they were investigative offices, but that's going way, way back.
Yeah, that, I'm just trying to think of anywhere you could expand until better.
Well,
I mean, I
as
didn't know if
it,
they're,
as it stands now, we're probably we're putting victim witness in one of those spots. Yeah,
They're going
they're going into the
downstairs.
old magistrate's office. Yeah,
All the way into the right and back in the
Okay.
corner.
yeah.
Right, workforce.
Yeah, but that building that's probably the most
So-
logical, but it would have to be completely gutted.
So what are the old sheriff's department, what is it gonna be?
Probably torn down for parking, because we're in need of parking.
no, I was talking about
She was on sheriff's.
She's talking about the
old
jail,
jail.
the
Oh,
jail.
She's talking about sheriff's
oh,
office.
part of the sheriff's
Yeah.
department.
Yeah, the
Right,
old-
up at the front, right, or at the corner of
The
Jackson.
back part of the courthouse.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
You ask anybody if they want to go into the old grocery store, and they'll run screaming away, shouting, no, no, no. Yeah.
No,
There's no outside windows, they've had
Oh,
mold
no.
since it was a grocery store. Yeah, yeah, I proposed that as a possibility to some of my staff, and they said, no, we'll kill ourselves first, because we would do it within 6 months in that building anyhow.
The building,
Wow.
Mr. Andrea, across the road, what is that still for sale? Not that I.
He at least part of that, I don't know who owns that.
I think it's still for sale, yeah.
Does he?
Most part.
Okay.
It's a cool looking building. I've never been inside,
I've never been
except for the
inside
bottom floor, so I don't know what the space available
And
is.
then you also have the restaurant, which used to be the Commonwealth Attorney's Office on the other side of Jackson.
Yes, I actually was in that building when it was both the Commonwealth Attorney's Office and Judge Sharp's juvenile court chambers.
Oh, so
Yep.
you're talking about.
The one on
county
the,
seat
yeah, it's got the
to-
carriage house, right? It's the is that what it's called? Yes.
Yeah. Nice back porch, I used
Yeah.
to sit out there and, work on material, yeah,
What was the restaurant one?
yeah,
After it was the office.
After that time,
after
yeah.
it was the office, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, John, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, John.
I wish we could solve it right now.
Yeah,
And I would appreciate, a kind of a heads up, because at this point, I haven't been able to advertise the deputy's position because I don't know what salary I can offer. Yeah, and that's something, I don't know if you all can come to an earlier consensus about that part, whether we can get it onto a meeting.
That would actually, if there was interest, the board would actually have to do a vote for this position. It may be, John, if you get, maybe you could talk to Jody about advertising, subject to board approval, and the board could approve the salary. They're gonna have to ultimately take a vote. Over a certain point, 20% into the scale, the board has to approve it.
Yes, and we're into that territory, on this one. And again, I hesitate to advertise, I don't want to write checks with my mouth that you all have to cash without your approval
You're at least
first.
okay with him advertising?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
would have to bring it back to you.
Yes, even though you'll have to bring it back to us.
That would be great, right. Thank you. Well, I'll let you guys know they're stacking up out there.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I believe that's okay.
Yes, sir.
I'll see you tonight. I told you maybe we're going a little bit late.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Probation, anybody here from
I
probation?
say they can't be stacking up.
All right,
Yeah, really.
probation's not here, so we're going on to extension. And you see the probation budget's at zero, so they're not gonna be a problem anyway, so. Corey's here from extension, that's tab 18.
And let's see. I haven't met you. My name's Walt.
My name's Corey, Corey Childs. I'm
Your agricultural extension agent. You met Karen Poff at the last board
Yes.
meeting. She's another one of our agents. And actually, there's quite a few of us. We're the only agents that work out of the county. We do have Stacy Swain, who manages a 4-H program as well, out of there, and Tammy Henry, who was our unit administrative assistant. And we're your full-time staff, and we end up getting some interns, and we have quite a few people that come in from other counties. One of the unique things about the way extension works, at least in this planning district, is that we all serve 5 counties. So although we're based here, we work in Clark, Frederick, Page, Warren, and Shenandoah counties as well. And those individuals are coming across the county line doing work here, just like I go over there and do work for those residents. But I look forward to working with you guys, and it's very nice to meet you. If you look at our budgets, for the most part, we're funded very uniquely. We're funded both federally, state, and county, so we have a very convoluted budget. What we do with it basically is every county in the planning district has a portion of that budget. And a portion, our portion of that you all will find goes into a bigger pot, and everything is pretty much, most everything is paid out of that, within a few things that are line items in our budget here that are paid for here. If you look at things, we've been pretty flat the last, well, I'd say 10 years. But you've got a 5-year record in here, and it shows that there is a blip a little bit in 17-18, and mostly we're a small enough agency that we're almost all personnel. So when you have somebody that's been there a long time, or you hire somebody in with more experience and they get a bump in pay, it affects our overall bottom line. And if they happen to leave, it goes back down. It really has a lot of impact on what we do. Our basic operating dollars have been pretty flat the entire time. And we really aren't asking for anything new. I've tried to hold it as flat as I can. Been trying to do that for several years. And really, if you look at our budget increases this year, what we've had to do was basically cut other line items a little bit more just to meet the hospital medical for Stacy. And everything else has been within, well, pretty much flatline for quite some time. And we're not really asking for anything new. We're just trying to maintain what we have. If you look at our page, the last page, y'all should have it anyway. There should be a sheet in there that talks about return on investment as part of our budget. I don't know if y'all did get a copy of that. This is what it looks like. It should be a front and back, or you might have it in 2 pages. But if you look at that, you can do a much better job of trying to look at where our funding comes from. Our total funding for the area is about almost $600,000. It's basically 40% state, 30% federal, 20% local, and we get about 9 or 10% from grants and other things as we go along. And that's always increasing, or at least we're trying to make it increase as we go. But the key thing I want you to notice on it, that when you factor that in along with our volunteer efforts, which we use volunteers a lot in trying to administer our programs and disseminate the things, it basically works out to every dollar you spend in our program, you're going to get over $5 back. So we really feel like we're as good an investment as you're ever going to make with county money, and most people still don't know about us, unfortunately.
Questions for Corey?
Looks like we're getting a good deal.
Yes, sir. Corey, we appreciate your time. Thanks for coming in to see us.
Thank you.
I hope more people take advantage of that well testing. We did that back a few years, and for the cost, it was, I was very appreciative of it.
We have that coming up again. We'll be taking samples and running the program again in about a month, month and a half. And we have a few more opportunities this time to give out some samples, or I guess you'd say pay the fees for them for some low-income people that we may have not been able to serve in the past. We used to have a limit of 5. They would give, around the state, they would give everybody every county a 5-1 test that you could get out or promise to people. And now we have a little bit bigger pot than that, so hopefully we can reach some folks that have some concerns or have called in over the last year. And we're working particularly with rented homes and things of that nature, where the homeowner or the landowner is not necessarily inclined to pay for a test or want a test. They'll be able to do this anyway and come to some common ground on what they need to do to fix their water problems.
Thank you again, Corey.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You want me to do the airport budget before we bring
Yeah.
Mike in?